Welcome to another episode of the Skift Travel Podcast. This is a special mini-series that we're doing over the holidays called How I Travel, which is a new series that we've come up with these intimate conversations with what I would consider travel connoisseurs, of people who define their life through the lens of travel. And as I'm starting this mini-series, we're starting with talking to the Skift folks that I know, that we work with, that sort of live and embody travel in so many ways. And I'm excited to have the conversation this week with Sarah Kopit, who's Skift's editor-in-chief. She's been with Skift now about a year and a half, coming up to about a year and a half. And so we're going to have a conversation on her travel philosophy, style, preferences. How does she look at the world through the lens of travel? You've already listened to a couple of the conversations we've had with Colin Nagy, who's our longtime columnist, and Jason Clampett, my co-founder, both of whom I'm known for a long time. So I knew a little bit going into it. I do know Sarah's working style, so I'm going to learn a lot about your travel style. So let me start with this, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And working with you for the last almost, I guess, a year and a half, and obviously getting to know you before that, one of the things that I noticed personality-wise that you have, which is a very no-nonsense style at work, and also you work at a ferocious pace. And so would it be totally off the mark to say that maybe that's your philosophy in travel too?
Yeah, it actually is. I would say, this is a new term a term that I learned when I joined Skift, which is the fly and flop traveler. I like to go to the beach, I like to bring a book, and I like to look at the waves, and I don't sit in the sun. I'm a fair-skinned blondie, so I like to sit underneath a palm tree. I mean, you're totally right that in my life, I do kind of work at a bit of a ferocious pace, work and live, New Yorker, Brooklynite. It is not how I like to travel.
Is it's just it's just a reaction to your work, so you're going to work this way and then you're going to totally take the opposite route traveling?
I don't really know. I think it is a little bit of that, especially since having kids. When I go on vacation, I mean, I'm busy. In my real life, I am busy, and so when I get those rare kind of days off, I kind of like to just unplug with a book. That's really what I like to do. Now, I can definitely see a point where, and maybe the kids are a little bit older and I have more free time where that changes. Because I'm trying to think back. I mean, it's been a long time now, but, to before the little ones came, I was a little bit more adventurous. But still, I still really...
Did you grow up traveling a lot?
My parents, who were both public school teachers in Michigan, they were pretty adventurous travelers, and they were part of the Fulbright organization, and they did 2 different teacher exchanges to England. So I actually lived in England when I was a little kid for 2 different years, once in London and once in Birmingham. And while we were there, we traveled all over the world.
Yeah, I guess UK is just so much easier as a sort of a midpoint in so many ways to travel to these places a lot more. And those were, obviously, since you were young, these were all family travel with your parents. In college, did you, like a lot of Americans or generally students, if they can't afford it, go on gap years or their own travels? Did you do that?
I didn't. I remember my first trip as an adult. I think I was, alone. I think I was like 27. I didn't have any money.
Yeah, or in some cultures, there's no concept. Like I came from India. There was no concept of like, go out on your own and travel. What do you mean? Why are you wasting your parents' money type thing as well?
Yeah, or, I guess there is probably something about that American experience of having so much that is here. But, when I was in my early 20s, a lot of the traveling was to weddings or what have you, just in the United States, of my friends and my family. And I had just moved to New York. And so Yeah, again, I'm going back to that. I didn't have any money to travel back then. So,
Now, obviously, now you've progressed enough in life, and now you travel. We'll come to sort of the personal versus the business as well. In personal travel, how much, like for instance, I guess the coming holidays, but you're not traveling. You're in a cottage, upstate New York. How do you decide on where you want to go? Is it a joint decision, or are you the decision maker, or your spouse the decision maker, or the kid, or yeah, how does it work?
so I'm pretty much the decision maker. A lot of our travel with the kids, so they're now 13 and 10. I think for we have been traveling with them, but it's very much been, I think, to the beach for me, also because it was easy. I think that a lot of it had to do with just the ease. But now both of my kids are asking, they both really want to go to London. My daughter did a unit on Henry VIII in school, oddly. And so she wants to go to the Tower of London. And my son really wants to go to Dubai. I think a lot of it also is hearing me talk about where I'm
Yeah,
going with
yeah, that's
Skift,
fascinating. Yeah,
and
Dubai for
a 13-year-old.
seems like a more
Yeah.
evolved choice.
Well, he wants to see this. He wants to see the supercars. That's what he wants to see. He wants to see
Right.
the cars.
Well, this is what Dubai is perfect for any type of supersized anything.
So I think I may take them to the Emirates this year. I will do Dubai and see the city. I think maybe go to Ras Al Khaimah for some beach. That's my favorite way to travel is do like a city experience, whether that's a modern city or an older city that has a little bit of culture involved. Do that for a few days and then go to a beach in that area, no matter where in the world it is. That's my favorite way to do it. Two-parter.
As you think about booking, are you loyal to any brand, or just whatever the online sites are going to throw up in a mix of price and convenience?
Yeah, I would say price and convenience. I mean, I like to stay in. It's funny. One of the things when I travel for work, because when you get to pick your own hotels, I always find myself like being like, oh, look at this cute little boutique place. And like, I'm like, no, Sarah, that's what you want to do when you're on vacation. Because when I travel for work, I've learned the hard way. Like, I want a coffee machine. I want to be close to the venue. I want a restaurant, because it's a completely different experience. But, yeah, so I'm not loyal, not at all. I ask for recommendations from friends and go online, look around,
It's the
see
same with
what kind
airlines
of.
as well.
Same with airlines. I, it's funny. I think I got a American Airlines credit card when I was in college at the University of Michigan in like 1998, and like I have status with American, and it's because of that credit card. It's probably the decision I made in college that affects my life now, like the only one,
Yeah.
right? Is because I still have that credit card, but I'm not. It's a mix. A lot of it now is times. What are the right times to fly? And whatever airline has it.
Let me ask you this. So, do you like one of the things when I go to London for work, and you're about to go to London for work as well, is like there's a great flight from here. I think a few airlines, BA does it, maybe a couple of others do it, where like you fly in the morning at 8 and get there at 8 in the night because of time difference, and then you eat dinner and you'll go to sleep. So it's a great way to, I guess, have minimal jet lag as possible.
That's the flight I'm taking.
That's the flight you're taking.
That's the flight I'm taking
Yeah.
on Virgin. And I've never
Virgin.
flown Virgin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I think you'll be fine. It's only 6 hours, which is a good thing, 6.5 hours, so you'll survive whatever. Usually in flights and long haul, and you've taken a few in the last year and a half for Skift as well. Like some people have philosophies on, I won't eat airplane food, or you'll eat before, and I do that quite a bit. It's like I'll eat before because.
Yeah.
Do you have any of these types of?
I always order a vegetarian meal ahead of time.
You're not vegetarian.
I'm not, but I just don't really like meat, and I don't want to risk
a flight,
having
something.
a flight with I don't know, being stuck with the beef.
Yeah.
So so it's usually, I mean, they have so many options now, and they do all let you. I mean, because it's not only just one vegetarian meal; it's all different sorts of them. Indian vegetarian. I often do get the Indian vegetarian. I find that particularly tasty. I
Yeah.
like it. So
Yeah, you
I'm
can't
like,
go
yeah,
terribly bad with like even if it's an average Indian vegetarian, it's going to be better than anything else that will be served. Yeah.
yeah. But I eat on the plane. I kind of like to see what they bring out. It's also just something to do.
Are you I probably know the answer knowing you. Do you switch off or do you not switch off? Do you do the Wi-Fi on long haul? I'm
Oh
talking, I
my
guess, long
God.
haul.
Yeah, no, once I discovered, or once Wi-Fi got good enough that it reliably worked. I mean, it's like a revelation. I mean, I love it.
Good and bad.
Yes, but I get so much work done on a flight.
That's
Like,
true.
I just, I even save. I mean, it's a great time to write. Like for those of us who like to write, like nobody's gonna talk to you. Like you can have like some good. I listen to music. I work, and the flight is over in a. Sometimes I wish it were longer.
Yeah. Well, once we're going to Southeast Asia this year, which you'll probably wish the flight is over soon, but yeah, that's a long, long flight. So, in terms of destinations that you choose, I guess you said beaches. Like, what are your, I guess, favorite beaches that you've been to, or does it need to be attached to sort of an all-inclusive resort and you're done?
So with the kids, the all-inclusive resort is clutch because they would bankrupt me otherwise. Just the amount of French fries and ice cream that can be desired while on vacation is enormous. But for me, I think that my most favorite trip that I've ever taken was to Egypt, and we spent, I think, 3 or 4 days in Cairo, and then we went to Sharm el Sheikh, and we stayed at a Sofitel, and it was just the most amazing thing. Went diving. So I just remember swimming in the Red Sea and coming up out of the water and opening my eyes and seeing the desert mountains, and it's just out of this world.
Yeah, desert mountains have a very particular sense of solitude and charm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that's my favorite. But even more than the beach, the thing that I love the most about that beach is I really like the blue Caribbean water. So, uh, you know, that I'm pretty partial to that. That's a favorite.
You said you read a lot. What's your like one of the things that made me switch over to? Well, I was a very early Kindle convert, and literally the week it launched in 2007 or something, 100% switched over from physical books to the Kindle, which has stood me very well from a travel perspective. As in, it's one thing that I've also left, by the way, a bunch of Kindles in the pocket in a flight. I think like three of them over these years. Are you still a physical book reader versus Kindle?
I am still a physical book reader, but I've been tempted. Every once in a while, I'll go on vacation. I'll bring like 4 books with me. And that's generally how many I bring. And like all of them will be duds. And then I'll be like, I really wish I had my Kindle or a Kindle, which I've never owned one.
You have never
So
owned one. Wow.
I've never owned one. So I still read actual books. The thing that I like to do if I can do it is read books. I usually only read fiction. I don't read nonfiction. But I like to read books set in the climate or like in the area of where I am traveling.
So that's very interesting. Very interesting. So for me, I won't be able to do it while traveling, but I can do it after I've traveled because then I have some sense of placing it somewhere based on my experience. Oh, sorry, I won't be able to read it before I go, but I can do it after I go.
I see. Yeah, I feel like if I'm sitting on a beach, I don't want to read about like the Upper West Side of Manhattan,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I guess there's yeah. No, I get that. Um, in terms of how you navigate sort of a foreign destination, I asked this to Colin and Jason. Are you like how much do you worry about sort of language barriers when you go, especially these days as translation has become translation apps and stuff, and particularly I'm going to say in the last couple of years, as you know, AI has come in. We just came back from a trip, as you know, for 6 weeks in Morocco, and I think the translation function of ChatGPT and Google Translate is one of the most used functions that we used.
Yeah, I don't worry about it at all. Is the answer, which probably tells me I'm not being adventurous enough. You know, even like when we went to Egypt, for example, I just kind of knew that we would be set up in a place where I would be able to speak English well enough. Just because I guess we were going to places where tourists visit.
Yeah. Has your sense of how you travel or want to travel changed since you joined Skift?
I think it's probably made me more adventurous. Like even like when thinking about where to take the kids. I've always been, my husband and I, especially him, we've always been fairly adventurous, like on our own. But with the kids, we haven't been as adventurous. But like all of my colleagues at Skift who also have kids, little, big, whatever, talking about all the different places they have been with their children has given me a lot of kind of confidence to be like, all right, let's stick them in the plane and take them, take them on. I think I'm kind of more excited to try new and different places. It's a big world out there.
One of the things a phrase that I've used in the past is sort of this. One of the things that Skift, in the travel industry, or at least covering the travel industry as we do, we're in a hyper aware Skift state of travel. Is a phrase that I've used. Is like you can see things more clearly from the airport to the plane to the hotel to destination, etc. Just because we're trying to learn about the industry as we're doing it ourselves for personal pleasure.
Well, and especially because we meet all of these people who maybe they're tourism representatives from whatever all the countries really. I mean, we have just such a great opportunity to meet all these people, and you hear them talk about where they're from, and it's just so interesting that that sense of wanderlust is real. So it makes me want to go more places.
Well, one, have you used our social media too? The question is around sort of how do you think about documenting your travel?
So I am a extensive and heavy social media user, but I am a lurker, not a poster.
You're a consume versus...
I am a consumer versus posting.
Yeah.
A lot of that...
Good for you, by the way, at least, because both would be horrible.
Yeah, a lot of that was from working at Bloomberg because
policies.
It was my gig that, but also like it was my job to kind of be out there on the various platforms to gather news. So I never posted anything. I was always anon. Like I was one of the very many anons out there lurking away. So I'm a huge consumer of it, but not a poster so much. At this point, I feel no like great sense to share my travels on social media. Where I do share them all the time is on both my family and friends group chats.
Yeah.
They like where maybe 10, 15 years ago, I would have posted pictures on Facebook. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg. Now I don't do that anymore. I still take the pictures and I do still share them, but only like 20 people in my life see them.
Jason and Colin both are not really on social media as much as well, or at least publicly posting it. And both of them said the same thing, which is just the private networks, whether it's your WhatsApp or your group chats, or is where a lot of Mine sort of varies depending on the purpose of the trip. One of the things that I like being an ex-journalist, and I guess still a journalist, because once a journalist, always a journalist, is that the frame of reference, sort of the storytelling that your eye sees in travel and capturing that moment and sharing it with the world is a form of journalism that I sort of like to share, which I think is interesting. Do you get influenced by social media on where to go? Do you research?
No, I don't think I do. I do a lot of research, but I'm a skeptical person.
Whose recommendation, is there some person in your life whose recommendation matters the most?
I don't think that there is one particular person, but I would say a lot of like skifty people. Like I would take Seth's, recommendation very highly. I would say there's like a handful of people in my life that I think that I can see that we like the same things, and like if they say, "Oh, you absolutely need to go and do this," I would believe them.
Yeah, mine is Colin is one of them, but that's not surprising to you, just because he's so connected into the zeitgeist of different places.
Seth and I have said many times on our own podcast that we aspire to someday travel like Colin.
I know.
Yeah.
In terms of sort of interacting with food, how do you think about sort of food in a place of, like I was talking to Jason, and Jason and his wife are very sort of evolved foodies in their daily lives, and so that reflects in their travel as well. But different people have different philosophies, and people travel for food. Like my wife and I went to Senegal 2 years ago. We went precisely because the biggest consideration was the food. As in, we would like to go because the food looks so amazing on a Bourdain episode that we watched 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
I am not a foodie, and it doesn't matter to me.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's breaking news.
Yeah, I I don't really eat much meat. I wouldn't like again, I wouldn't say I was a vegetarian, so like a lot that kind of puts a whole like swath of it out for me. But it's not something that I would ever want to spend money on.
So that's not a consideration. But what about your family? Well, I guess for your kids and stuff, you have to think about food in case they have allergies and stuff. But if they,
Yeah. They're not. My husband will eat absolutely anything, anywhere. He's a very adventurous eater, but I don't think it's not something that's very important to him. And the kids, they have a very typically unrefined childlike palate. So, it's just kiddie stuff. So, like I love Indian food, I love Middle Eastern food. And a lot of that is because you can get really good vegetarian options.
that's true. That's true. Both places, yeah. Middle East, you have to be, yeah, it depends on where you are. But yeah, India definitely 100%. Indian food,
Yeah.
100%, yeah. This is a question I should have asked before, but Airbnb versus hotel, if given a choice,
Oh, hotel every time.
even with kids in tow.
Oh yeah. I love hotels. I love them. I mean, a lot of it is because I just love having somebody come in and clean up after us. Like, when I'm on vacation, I don't want to cook. I don't want to clean. I don't want, it's too much just like my real life, but somewhere different, right? So
Yeah,
I like the escapism of the hotel. I like having a pool for the kids. Like a lot of times when there'll be a pool there. They really still love that. But I am sitting right now in a house in the Catskills that I rent out when I'm not here as a short-term rental. And
so you are a host as well.
I'm a host as well. And I don't know, that may have something to do with it where kind of like I can see how the sausage is made sometimes, And I have stayed in short-term rentals before when it's just the logical choice, like given, and it's always been, one time One time I went to one and we left as soon as we got there and went and stayed in a hotel.
Wow, it was that bad.
It just, well, it was nothing like it was nothing like the pictures. It's just like what they say.
Yeah, I've had that done once. We did that once.
Yeah, I really like the little luxuries that hotels provide, and always for work. Like people who stay in Airbnbs for work, that is a bit of a head scratcher to me. I
So I am one of those people.
do you? You do?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
because I like you know me a little bit by now. I like my own tea. Like I travel with my own tea, and I like to, and just I like hotels, especially if they're nicer end of hotels. But just I like my own space. I feel like I can walk from one place to the other, like meaning kitchen to this room to that room. That feeling I like. But yes, of course, convenience. If I'm going for a day, 2 days, I'm not gonna book an Airbnb. It just doesn't make sense. When I was in Singapore, 2 or 3 times, it's a long haul. We did pre-COVID. We did our conference there. Both the times, I stayed at an Airbnb. In the same, it wasn't the exact same Airbnb both times, but it's actually the same building.
Yeah.
And so it's just that while the rest of the company stayed at a hotel. And so I think my team by now knows that if Rafat is going to go for like a conference or something for a little bit longer, then I'm going to stay at my Airbnb.
Huh. Yeah.
So,
I like to be spoiled a little bit more.
Well, this is why travel is so fascinating, because anything you predict about people, every person has such a different travel DNA that there are a million variations, which is why travel has such a hard time selling to people, because it's just so personalized in so many different ways. How much, like one of the things I asked Jason, and this is I've been thinking about it, the most used app during travels is Google Maps. Like it's what you use. And a lot of the times my choices are defined by Google Maps, which essentially means, can I get to it by walking? And if I can get to it by walking, I will do it. So restaurant choices are defined by that in many ways, especially in a new destination. If it's a repeat destination, I can travel around. That's a different thing. But how much does Google Maps or any app define your travel?
I'm just like you, 1,000%. Google Maps. I don't know how we used to do it when we were like roaming around like pirates without it. Like it was, it's huge. I mean, I use it all the time. The Open Now tab, like, is every day when I'm on a trip.
Especially morning or late night, you're trying to figure out if it's open or is it closed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Do you care about the reviews?
Yes, but I'm very aware that there are a lot of people. It takes all kinds in this world. So like one or two, outliers here or there doesn't bother me at all. But as far as like, bad reviews or something like that. But, I would say that's kind of that would be on the Airbnb side of things, but like restaurant reviews, I never read. I don't really do that. But like let's say we were going to go on an excursion or something like that. Like if there were reviews to be had, I would kind of try to. Basically, I'm trying to find out, like, do most people like this, or is it terrible? I'm not trying to get the like variations on great.
Most people, yeah. Especially if it's a local favorite or something like that. That's what I'm trying to get. Is like, is it a local favorite? If it's a local favorite, chances are it'll be great.
Yeah, and I don't usually, it's funny. I don't talk to the concierge very much anymore. I do my own. I used to, but I don't. Yeah, just because. Well, kind of like before the internet, really, or before like all this stuff where. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't anymore.
Yeah, I made this joke a while ago on Twitter, whatever, many years ago, that Yelp back when, and Yelp seems to have sort of gone out of favor in general, is like if a restaurant review on Yelp, if it's an Indian restaurant, I only want to filter it by Indians so that I can see what they're like. Is it, obviously that's not I don't think it's legal for them to be able to like
Yeah.
filter by race or something. But Google did a version of it, which is fascinating. Google Maps or Google Reviews, where if you go to a restaurant, you see the reviews. They will show the reviews of people. So, for instance, it's a sushi restaurant. Somebody who's reviewed 10 other sushi restaurants on Google, they will put that person up and have a small text that says this person has reviewed 10 other sushi restaurants, which is a very smart way of getting around this sort of what I just said, which is illegal, which is by race or something like that.
Yeah.
It's such a
Like
fascinating
a super fan. They figured out a
super
way.
fan of this genre
Exactly.
of being able to do. We write a lot about sustainability, about eco-friendly travel practices or responsible travel.
God, you're going to get me in trouble here. Go ahead, ask your question.
Are you? Do you consider yourself a responsible traveler? Because like anything else seems like such a ridiculous word.
I don't. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't. I just. I don't know. I think a lot of it is because I don't believe yet. Like I don't know. The thing where I see it the most is on, the carbon indications on flights.
Google Flights or whatever. Yeah.
I see it, I look at it, but I don't know. Like I'm not going to pick a flight because of that. Like that's
I don't think there's any evidence today that we write on this stuff. I don't think there's any evidence today that says people are looking at that stuff, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. But where I think I could see, I've never used. Here's something at Skift where it was it's a section of the industry that I didn't even really know existed. I mean, and it's a very American thing to say, but the Get Your Guides and the Intrepids and the, basically tour operators. American, it's not terribly popular. Kontiki, it's not terribly popular here, and I've never gone on a trip with
organized tour operator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've never been on a vacation with them. But I will say that if I were to do that, many of them do seem to be very environmentally focused and that's part of what they are selling. And that I believe, that I can see myself, kind of
making
choosing
the choices, right?
Yeah, that way. But as far as it was when I was booking to come for Megatrends. I think it was Virgin. Virgin was asking me if I wanted to do, like when I was booking each leg of my trip, asking me if I wanted to do something with carbon credits and all of this. And I was just like, I don't know. No.
Yeah. I think that this is where I think you and I agree, which is that placing the burden of decision on the traveler versus companies. And I wrote this article on Skift last week, which was that I'm more a believer that climate tech will solve many issues, and that tech first, policy second, traveler responsibility third should be how the industry should think about. Because again, the paradox of choice, and like you have no way to make a informed decision anyway, and whatever is presented to you could be presented any different way to make it look responsible or not responsible.
It's funny. I agree almost. I think that it should be policy first.
Policy first. Well, the only reason policy doesn't catch up fast enough. That's the only reason I put it there.
Well,
you have
it's
to look
kind
at
of
AI
like,
and everything else.
Yeah, no, that's totally valid. I think about it with like food coloring, for example, in food. So it doesn't have anything to do with travel, but you'll get it in a second. Like, I wish that in our food in the United States there was not these artificial colors that have all these like terrible impacts for kids and probably all of us, really. I have no doubt that if the United States, much like Europe, decided to say, you know what, red number 49 or whatever it is, you cannot have it in food anymore. I have no doubt that we would still have red M&Ms and red Skittles. The companies would figure out a way to make them red without that chemical. But they're never going to do that without the policy, without somebody saying you're banned from doing it. Like, I very much believe in capitalism. Like, capitalism will figure out a way to make money. They say, oh, it's too expensive. You will figure out a way to make money. I have no doubt about it.
Yes,
you
true.
know,
Yeah, you will figure out a way to make money no matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's true. So fitness and travel. One of the things that since I just came back from this long 6-week trip in Morocco, going into it, I was apprehensive because I had recently been on a fitness journey and lost a bunch of weight and was worried about going out of this organized last 3-4 months that I had. And I think I was able to do okay. I'm gonna give myself sort of a B plus.
Okay.
Or
Congratulations.
B
Yeah.
plus. But how do you think about fitness on the road?
So I wish that I was more kind of disciplined with it. But I'm not. I don't think about it very much at all. The thing that I do, and I think this is very common of New Yorkers or urbanites, people who live in cities, walkable cities, is that I walk everywhere. Much to your thing about Google Maps and like I would never take an Uber somewhere where I could walk for 20 minutes and get there, assuming the weather is decent or stuff like that. Like I like walking when I am traveling, not only because it's good for you, but you get to see places. You get to see where you are. So, like, when I'm at the beach, I don't go to the gym, but I do very much, I love the water. Like, I love to walk on the beach. I love to walk around Barcelona. I love to, do that sort of thing. But it isn't something in my very rare vacations that I prioritize, but also because it's just not real life too, right? Like, it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. When you travel solo,
Yeah.
actually, let me ask you this: your sort of packing style.
Yeah.
I again should have asked it before, but because now we're already coming towards the end of our travel life
Yeah.
cycle with you. But in terms of packing, what's your style? How do you like? Do you have a favorite luggage? Like, some people are really luggage. Carolyn, who's our president, she's like very much in the will never check anything, has a particular very good sense of luggage, like this one thing. And I'm like totally opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I just recently got 2 away suitcases, the carry-on and the bigger one, and I really like them. I really like the hard, for no reason that I can tell you. I don't know why, but I like the hard-shelled suitcases. But it's funny, when I travel on vacation in my own life when I'm not working, I am a very minimalist packer. I'm kind of like Carolyn is for I know what I'm going to wear. I've been around for 48 years now. Like, I know what I'm going to wear. I know what I'm not going to wear. I don't like lugging suitcases around. It's heavy. I'm generally always just carrying on, and it's a very sparse itinerary here. When I travel for work, however, this is why I even got the big suitcase. I need options. I don't necessarily know. A lot of it has to do with the climate of inside, our conference center, they're all how aggressive is the air conditioning? I never really know how that's all going to go. It's kind of hard to get a sense sometimes of how casual or formal, especially when you're traveling to a different country. So I need options. I need footwear options. I need all of these things. So I bring the big suitcase. I throw a bunch of stuff in there and pretty much decide what I'm going to wear when I get there.
Have you bought clothes in a destination?
Only under
Duress.
Only under duress. Well, yeah, I was going to say, there was a very funny situation happened to us. This was actually after our Egypt trip, the fun Egypt trip. So we went to Egypt, and our flight coming back, we had a terrible time. It got canceled, and the only way for us to get home was we had to go through Paris, and we had to lay over there, and it's like, oh, that's how terrible for you. But, but we had been in Egypt, and we had climbed to the top of Mount Sinai, which was amazing. That's one of the most amazing things that I've ever done. I recommend it for anyone. But, it was hot in Egypt when we were there. We were there in September, and when we got to Paris, it was cold and it was rainy. And so I was out walking around in the pants and athletic wear, because it was the only long clothes that I had, that we climbed up Mount Sinai. And I said to a friend of mine who was French, later when we got back to New York, I said, I got the real impression that people in Paris were laughing at me. She's like, oh yes, they were. Mm-hmm, absolutely. But I did, after that first night, I did go out and I bought something in Paris. But like I said, under duress, I didn't have anything to wear, kind of out and about.
Speaking of buying,
yeah.
This is a question that I think I'm going to ask everybody. I'm already asking your souvenir philosophy, if you have one.
I'm very anti-souvenir. The only thing that I allow, when I say allow, nobody ever listens to me. We have tons of souvenirs at my house. But the only thing that I like is Christmas ornaments for the Christmas tree. That I love, because every year...
So this is for you.
Yes. So you pull them out, oh yeah, buying for other people. Yeah, I don't bring stuff back. I think Amazon ruined that. You can get anything from anywhere. But I love pulling out the Christmas ornaments and be like, oh yeah, remember this lobster with the Santa hat here? We got that in Maine, that type of thing. So that's the one thing that I really like to buy everywhere that I go.
Speaking of Amazon spoiling it for us, one of the things that, I have young kids, as you know, and so they say oh, bring back something, they're expecting toys. And instead of me buying a Lego toy, I don't know, in Singapore, I just order it on Amazon, and it comes, and they don't know the difference between, well, they shouldn't, the difference between bought in Singapore versus bought in New York or through Amazon.
You know what I did? I used to do. They've kind of might have grown out of this, but I used to do it. Is I would buy a soccer jersey from the country where I was. So when I was in Dubai, this was years and years ago, I got my daughter, it's like a local Dubai soccer team. It was purple with gold letters. It was awesome. It was I've never seen anything like it. And I used to go to Brazil quite a bit, and I would get my son kind of the local soccer clubs, like the Sao Paulo team, and living in New York, of course, I would try to get the most random, unique one that I could possibly find. Then I would talk to people, and I want to be like, which is the team that isn't famous, And in New York, lo and behold, inevitably people would come up to him and they would start talking to him about his jersey. People recognize it. That's New York for you, though, right?
Yeah. That's a great gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
For my son, we bought I was just going to buy Messi, and then until my wife told me that he hates Messi, you have to buy a Ronaldo t-shirt. So then I made the right choice, and then he was very happy when we came back. There was a Ronaldo. He's been wearing it since. Well, let's wrap it up. It's been fascinating. So with your two kids, well, one, what is, now, as you think about your sort of years gone by, what's one advice you would give to your younger self, or I guess to your kids on travel?
I would say travel more before the kids come.
Yes.
But I don't know. I think travel is so good for kids, and I can't wait to take my little ones out in the world now that they're a little bit less little.
Yeah, sometimes I wish like the kids are growing up in some place like London or something. 'Cause it's just
I
so much
know.
easier to travel internationally. And here, as you know, I mean, you and I, we write about this and we've talked about this, like the also the kid friendliness in those parts of the world versus us in this part of the world is like a different level. Um, which is why you and I have to end up going to all-inclusive resorts versus traveling anywhere, uh,
Exactly.
because that's the only place that kid friendly because that's part of the business model.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sarah. This has been fascinating,
thank you.
and I hope to make this into where you and I are talking about potentially making this into a larger series.
Yeah.
But I feel like at least getting to know the Skiff folks, I learned a lot about you that I didn't know, obviously, in the last year and a half.